Alright, recording game 2 of Aevusonian versus Binbag in Customs Check here, week 2 sets. Alright, we have Akuma versus Wobuffet. Akuma from Street Fighter, Wobuffet from Pokemon. Akuma by Level 99 design team, Wobuffet by Poltergeist. Customs Check is an event featuring a curated roster of both custom and official characters. Oops, didn't mean to click that. Total roster size of, I think, like 40, 50? I've lost track. Anyway, characters are drafted, so no chance of mirror matches, and you also don't have a single set of characters for the whole tournament. It changes each round. And each opponent as it were. Alright, so yes, Akuma with critical. Before setting your attack, you may spend a gauge. If you do, you activate your critical effects. Street Fighter characters tend to be pretty reliant on having at least some gauge, right? The difference between 0 and 1 gauge is enormous. 1 and 2, usually not so much. Wobuffet, when you validate a normal, its printed speed becomes 0. An incredibly wacky ability. Makes your grasps and crosses and assaults and dives much, much worse. And spikes. Much, much worse. Also has the Synchro mechanic, which is once per game effects. So Synchro Burst is action. Spend the cost, do the effect. So once per game, Wobuffet can spend 2 gauge to your opponent reveals their hand, choose a card from your hand, and strike. There's also a 3-cost Exceed, which, you know, maybe we'll see. Maybe not. Wobuffet is, I've seen this character a few times now. He's kind of a bizarre control character. Akuma, depending on the player, tends to be either an offensive set play monster, or, well, a rushdown monster, like an absolutely ridiculous breakneck rushdown. We'll see what happens. Alright. Akuma, actually, defensive set play also works on Akuma. Anyway, I said change cards, I think, or I was trying to change cards. Mulligan 3. Alright, second player mulling 6, or wait, 5. Oh, I've got them mixed up. Wobuffet's going first. I don't know why. I can't count. It's fine. I don't need to. Only the players do. Alright, Wobuffet going first. Alright, boosting run, coming into range 1. Makes sense. Makes sense because I happen to know Wobuffet's kit does not really have range tools. Power Patient, plus 2 power hit out this gauge. Yeah, so let's look at Wobuffet specials. Shadow Binds, range 2 to 3, opponents in this range cannot move. Shatter Knots, range 1, ignore guard at speed 3. That's actually pretty solid, also gains advantage and a bunch of positioning. That's a fantastic special. Splash doesn't do any damage before move 1 or 2, after move 1 or 2. Telepathy, that's misleading actually, because its attacks range 1 would hit you, but with after add this to gauge, that means the effect leaves play. So attacks at range 1 that are faster than you don't hit you. Those are the 4 specials. There are also 3 ultras, which we'll worry about when we have gauge. As for Akuma, he's got some incredibly scary range 1 stuff, notably Hakushu, which I think we just saw. Unless Splash wins the speed tie, Wobuffet has no way to beat. Fortunately, right now it cannot be critical, so it will not ignore armor. Tatsumaki, which is kind of mediocre at this moment. Gohado is not a range 1 tool. Suigasatsu is very strong. Again, not as scary because it can't be critical. It also is the boost in play right now, so it would have to be the other copy. Goshoryuken, very legitimate. Yeah, very legit. It's just range 1, speed 7, does a bunch of damage. And then, of course, the suite of normals. Akuma also has ultras. Very, very ultras. Alright. Wobuffet initiating here at range 1. I have no idea what to expect here. It could be blocked, but it feels very dangerous to just give Akuma 2 gauge. This boost also goes to gauge. This boost actually is errata, right? It should be hit plus 2 power, add this card to your gauge. And a sweep, that's an 8 power sweep, into a speed 0 sweep. Yep, so Wobuffet takes 8 and is stunned. And we'll lose a random card, which is a speed 0 assault, which had backstep on it, which may or may not be a good thing. Akuma, as we just saw, doesn't really have range tools, but neither does Wobuffet. Wobuffet's starting with a hefty life disadvantage, and it's Akuma's turn. With 2 gauge, Akuma probably will not exceed, despite having an exceed cost of 2, because he likes to have something engaged to use for criticals. Oh yeah, note that Akuma's critical applies to both players, or rather, when he has this critical effects. Alright, another +2 power. Akuma going ham to try to just murder Wobuffet. You can't counterattack me if you are dead. Makes sense to me. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a significant number of ways for Akuma to murder Wobuffet right now. Wobuffet does have ways around this, typically using some very ridiculous boosts, such as Encore. Alright, Wobuffet prepares. Evidently is willing to face whatever this is. Akuma, is he going to extend the setup or capitalize? Capitalizing. Alright, that's critical, so this could be Zasatsu or Hyakushu or Assault. All of which I believe are unbeatable. Assault is not. Zasatsu is not. Hyakushu is. Tatsu and Hyakushu, I think, are both unbeatable. Tatsu, yep, there's Tatsu. Okay, well, it wasn't the Ignore Armor option, so it's only 8 power. Makes a random discard. Well, I guess it would be 8 power either way, but it's 8 power and it can be blocked, is the important part. So block starts with 2 armor. Wobuffet can spin Force for more. Pays an Ultra, so 6 armor right now. Takes 2. Takes 2. Alright, that was Akuma's turn. It's now Wobuffet's turn. Here at range 2, we actually get to have, I believe, the Shadow Bind mix-up, there we go, which beats Goshoryuken, very amusingly, and also Cross. Loses to a lot of things, though. Oh, we have a reading. That's the kind of thing that Wobuffet needs to win the game, is to land readings and use Encore, I think. It appears that Akuma is ordering his hand. Yeah, so one of each Ultra, Hyakushu, Gohedoken, Block, and Cross. Depending on what was read, Wobuffet may have telegraphed his intentions, but if he just read Grasp, then that wouldn't really do anything. There you go. Yeah, reading Grasp, so no telegraph. Akuma has some options. I think a critical Cross beats everything. No, it would not Sun Shadow Bind. Well, let's see what happens. No crit. Assault. Okay. The speed 0 assaults get stunned by the speed 6 cross. Akuma, having not spent gauge, gets 3 damage and gets his 3rd gauge. May now considering exceed, may not. He is threatening Gohedoken at this range. Which I think, if he initiates, there's no way that Wobuffet can beat. There's the exceed. Checks out. Alright. Exceed mode, much the same as basic mode, except it's actually wildly different in basic mode, because the difference between +2 and +3 power is amazingly significant. Alright, looks like a change cards from Wobuffet's side. Giving up the gauge and the hands, get a fresh hands. Okay, with 5 cards left, what can Wobuffet do against Gohedoken? I think the answer is nothing. So Akuma might actually, yeah. So Akuma doesn't necessarily need to strike with it if he knows that Wobuffet can't beat it. He is already advantaged. He can extend his advantage by trying to take an even more commanding place in neutral. So he walked forward into range 4. I was kind of expecting to change cards to pick out the best of his hands. Interestingly, I think that means we have a known block on Akuma's side, as well as Gohedoken, Hyakushu, and one of each Ultra. I might misremember. I don't remember if there was actually a block over there. Alright, Wobuffet prepares. We have a parry, naming Telepathy. Okay. Makes an amount of sense. That's a pretty annoying card to deal with. Alright, we are back to Wobuffet. Kind of feel like Wobuffet has to move closer. Like, Wobuffet has to... I think Wobuffet has to call mix-ups right with things like Shadow Binds, Telepathy, but also Yeah, doesn't want Akuma to have control over them. Oh wait, I just realized. Akuma has one of each Ultra in hand, which means Akuma has instant hell murder in hands. Which means Wobuffet needs things that say discard a boost from play, or Wobuffet is gonna die. Yeah, so with that boost in play, Akuma can play a, you know, Speed 7, Power 7 Tatsu, a Speed 8, Power 6 Go Hidoken, admittedly less impressive. Um, Speed 8, Power 7, or sorry, Speed 7, Power 8 dive. The dive would actually lose to the other telepathy if that still exists. I'm not sure if it does. I know one is down because one got parried. So maybe Akuma wants to play the dive, and wanted to get rid of the telepathy for that reason. Hard to say. With no gauge, Wobuffet does not have access to his Synchro Burst or his Exceed mode. Alright, I was about to let my jaw drop. Discarding a dive when you know that boost is available would be bold statements. For players from Under Knights, in most other seasons, dive is the one that has discard a continuous boost from play on it. Oh, okay. Wobuffet prepared and then did discard the dive. I'm guessing Wobuffet has some other plan for dealing with Akuma boosts. Alright, we have a critical strike. So it could be Go Hidoken, could be Tatsu, could be dive. Dive. So Tatsu loses to EX Splash. Dive loses to Telepathy if there's one left. Go Hidoken doesn't really lose. But it doesn't do that much damage, it's only 6 power. Which for most people would be plenty of power, but for Akuma... Alright, yeah. So, deals 4, and Wobuffet draws a card. And Wobuffet loses a reading. Unfortunate. Alright, well, it is Wobuffet's turn. Having lost a tech and a reading, I'm increasingly unsure of what Wobuffet can do to rally against this oppressive Akuma. Has a full hand, though. If ever there were options, they might be there. So for those who haven't seen the Pokemon characters that fans are making, they often are associated with individual trainers to be... Oh, here we go. Wobuffet striking with a Speed 0 dive. Wins the speed tie against block. That's the second tech gone. So there's only one left, I think, because Safeguard does exist. Now you may discard a boost from play is in that kit. One Safeguard was discarded, 2 dives been discarded. So the second Safeguard's up, then Instant Hell Murder comes into play. Or sorry, the leaves play, rather. Although, Wobuffet could also be banking on having Telepathy, assuming there's one available, which I have not been counting. Get out of the situation. Okay, +2 speed, actually going to contest this boost for. That's really interesting. I guess that means Shadowknot and Splash are being threatened, since certainly no normal is going to be outspeeding what Akuma has on deck. Looks like we have a critical strike. Makes sense. Probably Tatsu. It is. Telepathy is Hyakushu. Okay, Telepathy's gonna... Wait. 7. Yes. Hyakushu loses. Yeah. Hyakushu goes first. Cannot get hits. Telepathy draws 1, advances up to 2, and then adds to gauge. Alright. Does not go to the corner. Makes sense. That is the second Telepathy gone, but it, meant that Wobuffet didn't take 7 damage. That light should be out of play. They'll figure it out. There you go. Huh. Yeah. I think Akuma initiated that, so we're on Wobuffet's turn. I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, because Akuma. If Akuma hadn't initiated, then telepathy wouldn't have worked because that was a speed tie. And if telepathy is faster, it actually loses. Ooh, paying you force for a tickle, +1 power, +2 armor, now draw 2. So it's basically a change cards 2 action that also happens to give you some stats. Akuma striking, not critical. Could this just be dive to get out of the corner? I've no idea what Akuma has left. I think both of the ultras we knew were down. I think the block that we knew is down. I think the cross knew is down. I think the Gojo that we knew is down. And I think the actually, yeah, I think all known cards are unaccounted or have been accounted for, which means that these 2 cards are not known. That's assuming that our opponent's notes are correct, which is a dangerous thing to assume. Oh yeah, 2 gauge. I should have been looking at a counter mirror coat, but let's see what happens. Assault into mirror coat. Oh, wrong counter. Okay, so 2 armor. Wobuffet takes only 2 damage. But yeah, counter is if you're hit by a normal, you deal 1,000,000 damage. Mirror coat is if you're hit by a special or ultra, you deal 1,000,000 damage. However, the wrong one was played. I assume that they resolved that correctly. I have no idea what's going on there. But yes, it is Akuma's advantage, thanks to the assaults. Did Akuma just... What did I miss? Oh, Mirror Coat says after draw 1 gain advantage. That's what I missed. Okay. Tickle again. Akuma now boosting defense. Makes sense, it's more useful than playing Spike at range 1. And he probably doesn't want to change cards from Gauge. Destiny Bonds... Oh. Or is it Encore? Or is it change cards? What's happening? Well, presumably, a reshuffle is about to happen, which means Avis is going to take a minute to figure out what's left in Binbag's hands. Okay. Yeah, when you are reshuffling, you need to give your opponent an opportunity to review your discards or something to that effect before they actually reshuffle, because that's open information. And yeah, wait, what? What's happening here? Oh, I guess what just happened was that Wobuffet prepared, triggering the reshuffle, and then discarded 2 cards. That looked kind of weird. What? Wait, why is... What? Wasn't that a turn? I'm gonna trust the players on this. I don't understand the game state, but it's not my game, so... Whatever's happening, it appears that Wobuffet's initiating with an EX, and it is Akuma's turn. Grasp, regular old-fashioned grasp, which deals 0 damage into this 4 armor Shadow Knot. However, it does push 2, which means the Shadow Knot will not hit. No pun intended. Alright. Akuma, with 3 gauge, looking at that discard, considering reshuffling in all likelihood. Critical Wild Swing? Yeah, critical Wild Swing. This also makes sense to me. Depending on what's left in the deck. Though I'm not sure if we've seen any Ghost or Yukon, so that feels a little bit suspect. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Alright, so there's Ghost Yukon. We have an EX Shadowbind, which does stall the Ghost Yukon, though it wouldn't have worked anyway. Shadowbind hits for 7, First Blood. Would cause a random discard, but none to discard. That is also both Shadowbinds. So no Shadowbinds left on Wobuffet's side. And I think that, yeah, so no Shadow Binds and no Shadow Knots. Telepathy, probably still in the deck because, well, maybe not now. But yeah, we saw them drop before. Akuma, Wobuffet prepares, Akuma prepares. Only one gauge. 11 life. Wobuffet is dangerously close to dying. Would probably take more than one strike, or at least more than one turn, because Akuma would need to boost first. It would only take a single boost for Akuma to threaten lethal here, because Akuma is Akuma. Um, that's just Akuma things. I think we're back to Wobuffet. Yeah, because prepare. Yeah. It's almost a good time to use Encore. Unfortunately, the Go Hadoken is still a very legitimate threat here. I guess the reason Akuma threw the Assault out of gauge was to get it back in the reshuffle. Alright, Wobuffet prepares again. Hand size goes to 7. Akuma's turn. Searching that discard pile, probably deciding if it's worth it to do another Crit Wild Swing, or if it's time to reshuffle. Or change cards, you know. Count cards, know the odds. Never Wild Swing at random. Wild Swing not at random. Alright, Akuma Wild Swings, but does not critical. Wobuffet's telepathy is going to lose this. So Wobuffet is faster, which is bad. Draws 1, advances up to 2. Probably does not want to advance, considering Tatsumaki will force the discard. Yeah. So telepathy draws 1. Advances up to 2. Needs to draw 1. You're killing me. Thank you. Advances 0, that makes sense. Tatsu advances 2, hits for 4. Yep. Does not get the discard effect, though. Alright. Wobuffet's turn. 2 gauge. Notably not 4 gauge, but it is 2 gauge. 4 gauge would turn on Destiny Bond. An extremely dangerous attack that, well, actually, hold on, it still doesn't do nearly enough to kill Akuma. But it means you can't die, so it's nice to have. Alright, so yes, Akuma initiated its Wobuffet's turn. Huh, you know, with 3 gauge now, I wonder if Akuma could Wild Swing Demon Armageddon. Wait, sorry, Wrath the Raging Demon. Yeah, that was 4 gauge. Alright, Wobuffet striking. 1 card range 1. We have a Wild Swing Go Hadoken. That's going to do nothing. Focus hits for 4. Gets a card. That's some free value for Wobuffet. Alright, Akuma getting dangerously close to the threshold where he might not be able to just murder Wobuffet. Alright, we have a critical strike. That's very much threatening lethal. Several ways that could happen. Let's see which one it is. I feel like a sweep would be good enough. Yeah, no, it does lose Splash, doesn't it? Both Tatsus are down, I'm pretty sure. Well, let's see what it is. Wobuffet Wild Swings. Oh, that is a sweep. Counter, unfortunately, will not keep you alive, so you Wild Swing and hope that you get Splash. If I counted right and Splash works. Nope, not good enough. Wobuffet can draw a card, gets a gauge, and then sweep hits for 8. Or 9, excuse me, 9. That's game. Whew. I'm going to make sure the players resolve it. Okay, there we go. And I'll stop recording here.